Hello and a very warm welcome. It's 9 PM IST and we are coming to you live from the WION headquarters in Noida, India. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Who is the godman at the center of the Hathras Stampede row? As anger mounts over the deaths and questions pile up, we get you up to speed with the latest from on the ground and dissect the developments to get you the bigger picture. And here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show. China appears to be rehearsing for war with the United States. We tell you what satellite images show and why they are extremely significant. Is Vladimir Putin going to arm the Houthis? Is a wider war inevitable? We get you the complete story. We tell you all about the impact of space stay on the human body, that too long duration of space stay. Also the latest on Sunita Williams' return to planet Earth as questions mount. All this and more coming up tonight on Gravitas. Stay with us. Our top story tonight on Gravitas is about one Suraj Pal Singh, a self-styled godman, known to his followers as Bhole Baba. Why is he making headlines, you ask? Because of a tragic stampede in Hathras, UP in India. It has claimed 121 lives, 121 people lost their lives. What really happened? Bhole Baba organized an event that drew lakhs of people. What was the result? Chaos, panic, death, hundreds crushed under the weight of the crowd. And where was Bhole Baba? The first to flee. You heard that right. Bhole Baba, the one who called them there, vanished from the scene. He has not been seen since. Is this the first time Bhole Baba has endangered lives? No, Bhole Baba has a history, a long and checkered one at that. Time and again, he has put lives at risk. The police are on the hunt. Will they find him is the question. Will he provide answers for the lives lost? Time will tell. But first, let's get into who Bhole Baba is. What's the story here? What happened in Hathras? More than 3 times the permitted number of people. More than 3 times the permitted number of people. That is how many gathered for Bhole Baba's religious congregation in Hathras. How many were there? Around 250,000. And what was the permitted number? Only 80,000. The area was far too small to accommodate that many number of people. What happened next? In one word, chaos. The preacher was leaving in his car. Thousands rushed to touch his feet. As people rushed towards that car, Bhole Baba's staff stopped them. Some fell to the ground. Others ran towards open fields nearby. Devotees sitting on the ground were crushed due to the uncontrollable crowd leaving the venue. And on the other side of the road, the crowd running in the water and mud-filled fields was forcibly stopped by the organizing members with sticks. all this led to a significant build-up in a small confined area. According to the police report, the cops did all they could to stop the commotion, but the organizers did not cooperate, and now charges have been filed against them. They have been charged with 1. Culpable homicide not amounting to murder, 2. Attempt to commit culpable homicide, 3. Wrongful restraint, 4. Disobedience to order duly promulgated by the public servant, and 5. Causing disappearance of evidence. The FIR, in fact, clearly mentions organizers, but Bhole Baba has not been named. So who is Bhole Baba? Who is this man who enjoys such a following and still recklessly endangers lives? According to reports, Suraj Pal Singh, or Bhole Baba, was once a head constable with the UP police. Born in Bahadur Nagari village in Uttar Pradesh's Eta district, he is the son of a farmer. He completed his initial studies in the village. He left his government job in the year 1999 and changed his name to pursue the spiritual path. In fact, he says that he was always inclined towards spirituality, even while working. To manage the large crowds at his satsangs, Bhole Baba has a security team. They call themselves the Narayani Sena. Men and women guards who escort him from his ashram to the location of the satsang. Bhole Baba is known to keep his distance from the media, yet he has been embroiled in several controversies. In the year 2022, he held a similar satsang or religious congregation in Uttar Pradesh's Farokhabad. This was during the rise of COVID-19 cases. Again, what was the permitted number then? Only 50 people. How many showed up? Over 50,000. The oversight caused significant traffic snarls and a risk of spreading the deadly infection. As you may have realized by now, Bhole Baba is no godman. He has a team of people who do his work. They ensure people keep him on a pedestal. But this is a man who is reckless with people's lives. In India, self-styled godmen like Bhole Baba are plenty, and so are scandals surrounding godmen. In fact, in the past few years, many of them have even been jailed for their crimes. Crimes ranging from murder, sexual assault, tax evasion, fraud. Every few weeks, a new self-proclaimed godman appears, and people seeking solace and answers as a part of their faith are easy targets for manipulation. They fall prey to the godman's manipulation of their faith, manipulation of their fears, manipulation of their vulnerabilities. These so-called spiritual leaders do this by promising miracles and divine intervention, and this draws them huge crowds and fosters blind devotion. In truth, these so-called godmen have only one objective, that is, to fill their own coffers. It is a systemic problem. The gullibility of devotees, coupled with a lack of stringent regulation, allows them to thrive. The tragic event in Hathras is just a stark reminder of the dangers posed by them. It's high time for stricter oversight and greater public awareness. Faith should not be a tool for exploitation. Devotees must be encouraged to question and scrutinize those who claim divine powers. Only then can we hope to protect the vulnerable and prevent such tragedies in the future. Let's now shift our focus to China. It appears to be rehearsing for war with the United States. Damning new satellite images show China bombing models of American fighter jets as part of a rehearsal of a military assault. The satellite images taken over a remote desert area in northwest China show massive scorch marks next to low-tech models of what looked like F-35s. These are some of the most advanced jets used by the US Army. The question is China rehearsing shooting them down? It sure looks like it. The Chinese military has built these models of American fighter jets apparently to use as target practice. That's not all. The photos show a long runway with several scorch marks at the top end. It's not clear what weapons were used to leave such a mark, but as per the British newspaper, The Times, it looks like precision missiles were used. And the location is also important, by the way. The drills took place in Taklamakan Desert, located in Xinjiang province. This province, as we know by now, is already home to China's military testing. In fact, around 3 years ago, it was revealed that China had built up models of an American Ford-class aircraft carrier, as well as 2 Arleigh-Burke-class destroyers for similar purposes. But since Xi Jinping came to power in 2012, China now has a navy that has surpassed the United States in terms of crude number of ships. It is also expected to be 50% larger by 2035. Sure, the US still has the largest fleet with 11 aircraft carrier groups and has a global reach beyond China's capacity. China is starting to catch up though. And what's more, China is also believed to be planning a third sea trial later this week for its first domestically built aircraft carrier, the Fujian. As far as air forces is concerned, China is still thought to be lagging behind America, both in numbers and also in advanced avionic equipment. Which brings us back to the satellite images. The main purpose of the new drills seems to be to test improvements in missile technology, an area that China has reportedly neglected over the years. Why is that, you ask? It's because the section within the Chinese military responsible for missile technology, known as the Rocket Force, has been at the heart of corruption allegations. But Xi Jinping has recently cracked down on corruption within the PLA ranks by ordering investigation and purge. No one should be surprised if China has started testing its missiles once again. And this also comes at a time when China looks ready to invade Taiwan, a breakaway island that is democratic and self-ruled, yet Beijing claims it as its own territory. In fact, Beijing has on numerous occasions declared its intent to reunite Taiwan with the mainland. And in doing so, Beijing has never renounced the use of force to bring Taiwan under its control. On Tuesday, Chinese military drones were seen hovering near an airport on a remote island in Taiwan. The drone was spotted around 5 nautical miles from Matsu's Nangan airport, and it stayed there for about 20 minutes. Taipei's military and local media said that caused delays to flights in Taiwan. The possibility of China invading Taiwan has created tensions between the US and China. In recent times, China has become increasingly bullish against the US over its stance on Taiwan's independence. It's because the US insists that the island nation ought to be an independent sovereign state. Of course, who can forget how former US House Representative Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan in 2022 triggered a fiery response from China. A quick recap. Pelosi visited Taiwan in defiance of Chinese warnings for the trip to not take place, angered at what it perceived as US support for Taiwan's de facto independence, which it sees as a red line. China launched war games near the island to show its protest and anger. China's military fired missiles over Taipei, flew waves of drones over some of Taiwan's islands, sailed warships across the median line of the Taiwan Strait, and surrounded the island in what Taiwan's military said amounted to a practice blockade. Target practice on fake American jets, confirming what analysts have been saying for a long time. China is definitely preparing for war. They say that the use of the mock airbase is in line with the analysis that China's main military focus is on how to constrain the US in any conflict over Taiwan. The communist regime in China has always denied it, that it wants it to become a world superpower, but it is clear that its vision of a multipolar world can only come to life if America is constrained. As per a new study by an American think tank called the Center for Strategic and International Studies, China is helping Cuba build new interception stations. And why is that? To monitor U.S. bases, including Guantanamo Bay. The island is close to Florida, which is home to important U.S. military facilities, as well as the main U.S.-based launch facilities at Cape Canaveral and the Kennedy Space Center. And due to all these reasons and more, saying that China is preparing for war with America is certainly not an exaggeration. Is President Joe Biden a winnable candidate for the Democrats in the 2024 presidential election? That is the question being asked after Biden's performance in last week's presidential debate with the Republican rival Donald Trump. In fact, the latest surveys show how support for Biden is on the decline, raising alarm bells within his party, with one of his party's lawmakers demanding he step aside. Biden's post-debate crisis is now evolving into a genuine threat to his re-election bid. And as we analyze how it all went downhill for Team Biden's re-election campaign, let's just take a look at the polls conducted after last Thursday's presidential debate. According to the Ipsos Reuters poll, among 1,070 U.S. adults surveyed online, while 1 in 3 Democrats think that Biden should end his re-election bid, both Biden and Trump maintained their support of 40% of the registered voters, indicating that Biden has not lost any ground since the debate. As for other Democrats, only Michelle Obama, the former First Lady of the U.S., outperformed Joe Biden. That's right. Michelle Obama led Trump 50% to 39% in a hypothetical matchup. This despite her maintaining that she does not intend to run for president. As per the Ipsos Reuters poll, Vice President Kamala Harris trailed Trump by 1 percentage point, that is 42% to 43%. In fact, the statistics showing that Harris is just as strong as Biden, stepping out from his shadows in recent months. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom performed marginally worse, trailing Trump 39% to 42% in the survey conducted. Remember, none of the elected Democrats tested against Trump have formally declared their candidacies. Let's now take a look at another poll conducted by CNN as U.S. President Joe Biden wages a desperate bid to save his re-election. 3/4 of the voters saying the Democrats are better off without him. As per the CNN poll, 49% respondents favored Donald Trump, while 43% favored Biden. That's a gap of 6 points. As per the CNN poll, most voters think that the Democrats have a better chance of keeping the White House if Biden is not the nominee. In fact, the poll found that in a hypothetical matchup, Vice President Harris is well within striking distance of Trump, while 47% of the voters support Trump, 45% support Kamala Harris. Among other Democrats who have been mentioned as potential replacements of Biden is the California Governor, Gavin Newsom. He performed marginally worse, trailing Trump 43% to 48%. And with calls mounting to sit out of the race, the White House said that President Joe Biden can bounce back from his poor debate performance last week, adding that there was no need for him to prove his cognitive abilities.
We understand. We're not taking away from what you all saw or what the American people saw. We understand. It was a bad night. It is not uncommon for incumbents to have a bad night on their first debate.
Meanwhile, former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that it would be fair for voters to ask if President Biden has a condition or if last week's debate performance was just an episode. This was the first time she questioned the Democratic candidate.
So he has a vision, he has knowledge, he has judgment, he has a strategic thinking and the rest. He has a bad night. Now, again, I think it's a legitimate question to say, is this an episode or is this a condition? And so when people ask that question, it's completely legitimate of both candidates, because what we saw on the other side was a lying.
Meanwhile, a House Democratic lawmaker has become the first in the party to publicly call for President Biden to step down as the party's nominee for president. Lloyd Doggett of Texas said that Biden should make the painful and difficult decision to withdraw, citing his debate performance against Trump, failing to effectively defend his many accomplishments. And this was also echoed by the Democratic leader Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, who said that it was fair to raise concerns about President Joe Biden's fitness after last Thursday's performance. As President Biden's campaign tries to reassure the U.S. voters of his ability to lead.
Tell the truth. I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message. And I know how to do this job. I know right from wrong. I know how to tell the truth.
With a majority believing he is too old to work in government and must be replaced. The big question is Biden breaking under pressure? And will the Democratic Party replace him ahead of the November 5 elections? 9 people have been killed as a speeding car crashed into the crowd in the South Korean capital, Seoul. The deadly accident took place at around 9:30 local time at an intersection near Seoul City Hall. A 60-year-old man drove the car into pedestrians waiting at a traffic stop. 4 more people have been severely injured and taken to the hospital. The casualty numbers might increase as well. The driver got arrested at the scene by the police. Our next report telling you more.
A car drove into pedestrians near Seoul City Hall on Monday, killing 9 people and injuring at least 4 more, according to police and fire officials. Local broadcaster YTN TV said that the car rammed into pedestrians standing on the crosswalk after hitting 2 other cars. Witness Park Sung-il described what they saw.
Even though people collapsed, the person in the passenger seat was only concerned about the driver and mentioned that there were clothes in the trunk. If only they'd used them to apply pressure quickly to those hit by the car, at least one person could have been saved. That one person probably died.
A police officer was administering CPR to a person on the ground at the site of the accident, according to a video given to Reuters by a witness. Temporary barricades were already up by Tuesday morning after the collision damaged pedestrian guardrails. Cho Hyun-ho runs a store near the site of the crash, and he said he still felt affected by the news.
My daughter called me because I run a store in front of the city hall, so I asked her what the accident was, and I heard it was a big accident. I mean, the car crash happened. This is how I found out. My heart at that time is still breaking.
According to police officials, the exact cause of the accident is still under investigation.
We've all heard about the Boeing Starliner saga. The spacecraft and the 2 astronauts set out for a week-long mission, but they are spending more than a month in space. Now, it is an astronaut's job. In fact, it is a fascinating job. It's also extremely taxing on one's body and mind. Space flight is highly risky, and the astronauts need to be prepared for the worst. Here's the lesser-known impact of spaceflight on a human body. Take a look.
On the 5th of June, the Atlas V rocket lifted off, carrying the Boeing Starliner and the 2 veteran astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams. On the way to the International Space Station, and even after getting there, the Starliner faced technical issues, including gas leaks and a failure of a few thrusters that help it maneuver in space. Since then, we've heard multiple possible dates for the return of the Starliner. 3 more days and the Starliner would have spent exactly a month in space. NASA and Boeing claim that the Starliner can remain safely docked to the space station. Meanwhile, NASA and Boeing are planning to conduct ground tests to better understand the issues with the craft. Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore are veteran test pilots with thousands of hours of flying experience. They've also done multiple space flights and spacewalks. However, prolonged stay in space can have adverse effects on the body. One must remember that long-duration space flights undertaken by astronauts is the result of meticulous mental and physical training and constant health monitoring. Here are some well-known effects of spaceflight. Firstly, when floating around in a microgravity environment, the muscles and bones don't feel the usual stress that they do on Earth. This means bones and muscles degrade, which is why astronauts must work out at least 2 hours daily. Those on the space station rigorously perform both cardio and weight training. While floating around, people may show symptoms of space sickness such as headaches, nausea, and vomiting. Likewise, even after they return to Earth, it takes a while to adapt. Staying on Earth gives us the protection of the Earth's atmosphere ozone layer. Our home planet keeps us safe from harmful radiation, whereas astronauts are exposed to much more radiation. This could have a long-term impact on their health. While on Earth, the planet's gravity ensures that all bodily fluids are pulled downwards. In space, bodily fluids accumulate in the upper body. This is why astronauts' faces appear swollen and they may have congested nasal passages. In space, it is easy for the heart to pump blood to the head. However, this is tougher on Earth due to the presence of gravity. After a prolonged stay in space, it is possible that the cardiac muscles get weak. Astronauts on the space station have to live in a restricted area for several months together. They have to live, work, eat, sleep, and carry on with the life for several months in the confined space. This can drastically affect their mental health. Space medicine, an entirely unique branch of science, has been created to better equip and treat humans for a longer stay in space. The space station is 400 kilometers above the Earth. The Moon is 400,000 kilometers away. Mars is about 225 million kilometers away. As humanity looks to go further than ever before, the advances in space medicine is what will make a difference in ensuring longer duration human-led space exploration.
The World Bank's latest report shows Russia has moved into the high-income category despite heavy Western sanctions. This growth has been driven by a surge in military activity, trade, financial sector expansion, and construction. Russia's per capita increased by 11.2% in 2023, even as the West aimed to cripple its economy over the Ukraine conflict. But who really profits from this growth is the question. It is the elites investing in military and infrastructure projects. While Russia's economic indicators improve on paper, the general population continues to struggle. Increased military spending means more business for defense contractors and oligarchs with ties to the Kremlin, while ordinary citizens face rising living costs and economic uncertainty as well. And this economic gain for the rich contrasts sharply with the reality of life for the average Russian. With rising inflation and sanctions impacting everyday goods, many find themselves worse off than before. The increase in GDP and national income does not translate to better living conditions for the majority. The World Bank's classification system highlights development based on gross national income, but fails to reflect the economic disparity within the countries. The growth in Russia's national income is masking the growing economic inequality and the fact that much of this wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few. Ultimately, this begs the question, will the war stop if it continues to benefit the oligarchs. As long as the elite profit from conflict and investment in military and infrastructure, the misery of the masses may well be overlooked in favor of financial gain. Money over misery. Is this the true cost of war? Shifting focus, Egypt is facing multiple issues internationally as well as domestically. At a time like this, the president is hoping that a reshuffled budget will bring about some change for geopolitics and the economy. Our next report getting you the details. Take a look.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has sworn in a reshuffled cabinet. The country welcomed its new finance and foreign ministers at a time when tensions are rife. The government is facing challenges including the Gaza war on its border, economic woes and persistent power cuts. The previous cabinet resigned a month ago and Sisi reappointed Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli. He has urged his new cabinet to focus on lowering inflation and regulating markets as well as boosting investment. The new finance minister, Ahmed Kuchuk, comes with a lot of experience under his belt. Having handled the post of deputy finance minister, he faces perhaps the biggest challenge in managing a stumbling economy and a debt burden that has soared in recent years. Egypt's sovereign dollar bonds rallied on Wednesday, with the longer dated maturities gaining the most. The 2047 maturity rose by 1.96 cents to trade at 75.16 cents on the dollar by 11:24 GMT. At the Foreign Ministry, Egypt's ambassador to the European Union, Badr Abdelati, is expected to continue steering Egypt's diplomatic efforts to contain the impact of the war in Gaza. Ministers in Egypt have limited decision-making authority, with real power residing with the presidency, military and security services. Earlier this year, the country signed a record investment agreement with the United Arab Emirates and international funding deals, including an expanded loan program with the IMF. On Tuesday, another investment deal was announced for a high-end development on the Mediterranean coast. What this reshuffled cabinet brings for the country and its people remains to be seen.
The idea is how to set our priorities, what we will spend on, and whether we will resort again to loans. And if we will get more loans, which projects and which sources of spending will these fund? These are the issues that if changed, it will be more important than change personalities in and of itself.
Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Chipmaker Nvidia is facing a potential storm after briefly becoming the world's most valued company. France is reportedly set to hit them with antitrust charges over dominance in the AI chip market. This will be the first of its kind and follows raids on Nvidia's offices last year. Meanwhile, the US is also investigating the company's reign in this key technology. Take a look at our next report to find out more.
Nvidia is set to face antitrust charges in France. That's according to Reuters sources with direct knowledge of the matter. If confirmed, it would mark the first action by a national enforcer against the AI chip champion. There was no comment on the report from France's antitrust regulator or the company. However, the sources say dawn raids last September were targeted at Nvidia and part of a broader probe into cloud computing. Last week, the French watchdog issued a report on competition in AI and cited the risk of abuse by chip providers. It voiced concerns over the sector's dependence on Nvidia software and unease over its recent investments in cloud service providers. Companies risk fines of up to 10% of their global annual turnover if they violate French antitrust rules, though they can offer concessions to stave off penalties. In the US, sources say the Department of Justice is leading investigations into Nvidia. The company is under scrutiny amid its dominance of the market for AI chips, which power systems like ChatGPT.
Are human-like robots going to take over the world? Will they replace human beings? I know this sounds like the beginning of a sci-fi movie. It might even sound like a bizarre question. But here's what triggers these questions. As per a South China Morning Post report, a robot has been developed by Chinese scientists. What's the big deal about that, you ask? Wait till you hear more. This is a robot with a lab-grown artificial brain that can be taught to perform various tasks. You heard that right. A robot with a human brain created in a lab. The technology has been developed by researchers at Tianjin University and the Southern University of Science and Technology. Basically, the aim is to give the robot the ability to perform tasks like grasping objects and avoiding hazards. Tianjin University, in fact, refers to this technology as the world's first open-source brain-on-chip, intelligent, complex information interaction system. Basically, the university says its research could lead to the development of hybrid human-robot intelligence. What would that mean? Are we looking at the creation of hybrid machines that can actually carry out functions independently? Let me now ask you this. What is the one thing that comes to your mind when you think of the perfect Hollywood smile? For most, it's an image of a uniform row of shiny, bright white teeth. But this definition is now changing. There is no denying that the global market for cosmetic dental work is expanding faster than ever, but a change has also been observed in the perfect Hollywood smile trend, that it's not so perfect anymore. The imperfectly perfect smile is catching the attention of many. Are you wondering what that is? Basically, it's a wonderful smile, but one that is individual to each person and not just following the predefined norms of the cosmetic dentistry. Over the years, the conveyor belt fake smile has received criticism, partly because of the rise in dental tourism in Turkey, and the imperfectly perfect smile is being touted as the latest antidote for it. People are now demanding more natural-looking smiles in cosmetic dentistry, particularly the ones that don't give away the fact that any work has been done. As per Dr. Rona Eskander of Chelsea Dental Clinic, the most common example cited by customers seeking this smile is Anne Hathaway. While the actor has never talked about having any cosmetic work done on her teeth, her smile is wide and straight with teeth that are not uniform in length, just how natural smiles are. Many customers also use the example of Keira Knightley, whose teeth have natural quirks in them. But that's not the only thing changing in cosmetic dentistry. From not wanting an unnatural shade of white to not getting their front two teeth corrected, customer preferences are moving towards natural-looking smiles in general. What were you doing when you were 9 years old? Well, most of us were going to school and playing with our friends in the evening. But meet Indian origin chess prodigy Bodhana Shivanandan. Even before she turned 10, she is set to represent England in a chess Olympiad. That means that she will become the youngest athlete to represent England in a senior international sporting competition. But what makes her so special? Let's take a look. Shivanandan has been selected as one of the 5 players for England's women's team in the Chess Olympiad. This is not a junior competition nor a second-tier tournament. It is a full-fledged Chess Olympiad. The second youngest player in the England team is 23. The other members are all in their 30s and 40s. Shivanandan has created history. There is no recorded proof that an athlete has represented Britain at the age of 9. Britain's youngest Olympic medalist was 8 when she made her senior skateboard debut, but at the time she represented Japan. It was only when she turned 11 that she started competing for Great Britain. While there are several teenage prodigies who are making their mark in the chess world, Shivanandan is not even 10. The London-based chess player only took up the sport during the COVID-19 lockdown, and it was in 2022 when she first captured the world's attention. At the age of 7, her remarkable performance at the British Championships got people talking. She then finished second in the English Women's Blitz Open a few months later. Shivanandan is already an internet sensation. She is beating experienced players 5 times her age. Her matches have naturally attracted thousands of viewers online. She's also, by the way, England's first World Youth Champion in 25 years. Over the past 2 years, Bodhana has defeated several international masters, solidifying her reputation as a rising star in the chess world. Renowned English player and commentator Lawrence Trent believes she is not just going to be England's greatest ever chess player, but also one of the best players the world has ever seen. Now, those are some high expectations from a child who's not even entered middle school, but Shivanandan's talent and achievements are there for everyone to see. And if the last couple of years are anything to go by, we could soon have a new queen of chess. One of the biggest movie stars in the world, Tom Cruise, turned 62 today. The actor, who is known for his larger-than-life movies, has left many stunned with his work in cinema. Let's take a look at some of his upcoming releases.
Hey! Let's all have a great summer.